All systems go. Clear for liftoff.
What's going on, everybody? Happy Halloween. Happy Thursday afternoon. Talking 14 fights, Big Marley. Pay-per-view last week. I mean, man, Max and Ilya lived up to all the hype. How fun was that? Great competitive fight. It just felt the whole way like if Ilya lands, things can change. But, man, did Max look good. This week, 14 fights and 2 5-rounders. And the biggest favorite on the card earlier in the week was minus 250. Mike Malott took some steam, now minus 310. But 14 fights, minus 310, the biggest favorites. Actually, Yusuf Zalal is minus 316. Now he's taking quite a bit of steam too, but ownership's going to be really spread out on this card. Ownership will be posted tomorrow. Really easy for me, though. The 4 fighters in the 5-round fights will be higher owned. I think it'll be less owned as last week's 2 5-rounders, but still will be the highest owned. And then the fights that are expected to finish 5 of the 14 will get some ownership as well, but I think it'll be pretty spread out. How do you see it?
Yeah, I agree. I haven't done ownership yet, so I don't really know. I don't really have an overview, really, but just looking at it, just trying to make a first lineup, I probably agree. I think it is going to be a tough one to make lineups that you like that aren't going to be too chalky anyways, but I don't have a super strong read on this card. Hopefully you can change my mind on a couple fights, but yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, sounds good. Again, we'll go fight by fight like always. I think this is a card, though, that because we don't have too many big favorites and salary like 8,900, you'll see some people in the high 8Ks. They're only like minus 170 favorites. A lot of underdogs could come through, so I'm looking at salary being a little looser. And these 5-round fights, both of them are expected to go to decision when we talk about it, but I can't see both of them busting. And Ilya was on the winner last week, but he only scored 96. Like, there was definitely possibilities where Ilya wasn't on the winner, and he was close not to being on one. I wanted to shout out, do you remember the name in Discord, or not in Discord, that Tambo put in the YouTube comments? He shouted us out last week. I'm going to look really quick.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Someone in the YouTube comments last week, right here, Chris Jaguars. Jaeger SC, I think his name is, Kansas Jayhawk on here. He said, thanks to the both of you for the content. Have been listening for about a year now and was finally able to finish first, even if it was chop 16 with 16 others. Keep up the great content. $21,000 for our man Jaeger. Appreciate that YouTube comment. Shout out to you. Awesome stuff. Love to see that. Anything else you wanna say on this card, or should we get right into it? 14 fights, a lot to talk about.
Yeah, let's get to it.
Let's get to it. Let me pull up the stone like we always do. Again, if you do want to join the nation, right here, our best deal. This is with NBA 15 as the promo code. Usually $99 for everything on the site. Shiptimizer, Discord. Just click the link right here. If you want to join the nation, look at it weekly. That does not include the Discord, but if you want to check out the content, monthly, annual, just per sport, projections, you can go to the nation, check that out. We are going to go to the MMA tab and the stone. Again, this will be color-coded. You will see projections ownership right here when it is loaded tomorrow. For now, you get the baseline. You get to see age, their weight class, the height, reach, significant strikes per minute, takedowns. A one-stop shop compares everything. Also the odds as well. So we're going to go bottom to top like always. First fight of the night, assuming the order stays the same. This good one to kick it off. Yusuf Zalal taking on Jack Shore. Zalal is the biggest favorite on the card, second highest price, minus 316. Jack Shore plus 266. Again, majority fights are expected to go the distance this week. 9 of the 14. This is one of them, plus 195 for this fight to finish. Zalal plus 250 inside the distance. Jack Shore plus 700. Right away, I look at the stone. I see 3.1 takedowns for Shore, 2.33 for Zalal. So even though we don't have an expected finish, does look like some takedown upside. How do you see this one going?
Yeah, I mean, if Shore is going to win this fight, it's got to come through wrestling, in my opinion. He is a solid wrestler, solid top control type of guy. He'll push a pace that it's hard to keep up with for a lot of people. But I don't know that he has that big of a wrestling edge over Zalal. Zalal could mix in takedowns himself. He just looks like the best Zalal we've seen. Like when he got cut, he was decent, but now he just looks like he's on his way to a title shot. So if you can't take Zalal down, I just feel like Shore's going to have a really hard time tracking him down on the feet, and I just think he's going to get outstruck, just outpointed for the course of 3 rounds. So my pick is going to be Zalal to win this one, but since he probably or might not have the wrestling edge himself in this one, I just don't see a high score coming from him. So $9,100 is a lot to ask, and I don't think he's going to finish Shore. So even though I'm picking Zalal to win, I think Shore would be my preferred play if I was to use this fight, just because if Shore wins the fight, it's going to have to come with multiple takedowns and just win the fight through the ground. And he'll put up a score that's going to pay off a $7,100 price tag. So I guess Shore is my preferred play, but I might try and get away from this fight. Like this could be a possible 2-star for me just because I'll let the field eat the ownership and hope that Zalal does win and score like 75 points.
I love it. I love everything you said. Initially, I was like, I'm going to play some or a decent amount of Zalal just because how good he's looked back since he's been back in the UFC. That Billy Q performance was great. And that's why I don't think Short is going to win this fight, is because his best path is through grappling and wrestling. Zalal's good down there too. And what he did to Billy Q, like I'm trusting Zalal to be able to get up if he's taken down, not get his back taken. So Zalal's my preferred play if I had to pick. But I'm with you. 9,100 is a lot. Like, that's 8K range is absolutely stacked with both 5-rounders. You see Denise, Derek Lewis in a big boy tag to finish. The Machado fight, I think Bario Stole's fist, pretty good. You can save money there. So I don't think I'm going to have too much Zalal either. Probably not even any Shore. I don't know. I'm going back and forth on if I want to have like 6 fades this week and then just have overweight tags on the others, because I do think ownership spread out. Or if I want to do the normal 4 fades, couple underweight tags, but I might even condense my pool a little more, assuming we all have 14 fights on the card. Probably would have Shore as a fade then, and I'll play some Zalal, but don't love it. We'll get to the next fight right here. Another fight I don't love one bit. I might have absolutely none of it, especially in 20 lineups. Jamie Lynn Horth taking on, where's this fight on here? Ivana Petravic. I hate how best fight odds has a completely, it's like so random. I don't understand. Or fightodds.io. It's like a completely random order, it feels like. Anyway, Horth, pretty big favorite on this card, -220. Petravic +185. Very likely this fight goes the distance. It's -350 to go the distance. Horth +350 inside the distance. Petravic +675. Looking at this, it looks like Petravic would wrestle. And Jamie Lynn Horth wants to keep it on the feet. I will say for Petravic, you look at her game log, she put up 103 points. Liang Na, that's the gift that keeps on giving. If you've been playing DFS for any bit of time, you know anybody puts up 100 plus against Liang Na. So I take that game log with a little grain of salt. I don't like this fight one bit. I want 100 plus on this card. I'm just looking for upside. I don't really care about the price. I don't think we're getting 100 in this one. How do you see it? You're on mute.
I don't even remember going on mute, but all right. Yeah, I think I agree with you. I just don't care for this fight at all. If we need 100 points, this isn't going to be the fight that gets us there. Similar to last fight, I think Horth is just a little bit better. She'll be able to keep this fight on the feet for the most part, and I think she'll win the fight there. But she doesn't have a high ceiling because I don't see her getting a knockout. I don't see volume being crazy. So $8,800 is just going to be too hard for her to pay off. I'm probably going to X out Horth. Petravic would be the preferred play because she will have to mix in some wrestling, in my opinion. But it's just, I mean, it's not Liang Na anymore. You're not going to get 103 points in this matchup. If she wins, she'll be flirting with 10x. So she's the one I would probably maybe keep in a pool. But yeah, if we need 100 points, let's go ahead and X her out. Easy. Just fight.
Yeah, 14 fights, 2 5-rounders, a lot of closely lined fights. Even though 9 of the 14 expected to go the distance, 2 of those are in the 5-rounders. I'm expecting us to need at least 90 at all these spots, maybe 100. And I don't see it in this fight. You don't as well. I love it. We'll keep it rolling. This fight, I do have some interest, only on one side, though. Cody Gibson taking on Chad and Elinger, -192 is Gibson, +167 is Chad and Elinger. Plus 170 for this fight to finish. Most of the finish equity on the Gibson side, plus 240. And Elinger plus 650. I like Gibson. I don't like Chad and Elinger. Again, we're talking 100-plus point upside. Chad, only time he gets that is when he gets a first-round finish. He's plus 650 to win inside the distance, plus 1,400 in round one. I don't think he's finishing. I think his best outcome is a decision win. Scores 70, 75, not on the winner. Gibson side, I have interest, though. Averages 1.61 takedowns, as you see right on the stone. Chad Elinger, of his 7 losses, you see right here, record 13-7, 6 of those by submission. Chad Elinger, you look at, Gibson, look at his props throughout the week. Open plus 365 inside the distance, now plus 240. Sub prop, open plus 750, now plus 400. That's a lot of line movement right there, especially on props. Gibson by sub, if the number keeps going, that means books expect he can wrestle. That means good in DraftKings, upside. And he did land 164 significant strikes against Brad Katona not too long ago. So I'm definitely going to be playing some Cody Gibson at this price. And I guess, do you like him more than Yusuf Zalal?
Yeah, I basically just agree with everything that you said. I like him more than Horth, and I like him more than Zalal. So he's the one that my ownership's more likely to go to. There's other plays in the top that I like as well. But yeah, I'd rather save the $100 over Horth, and then the 400 over Zalal. So yeah, definitely. I think your breakdown was perfect. Really don't have anything to add.
No, I love it. No time to waste. I was long-winded in that. I felt as I kept talking, like, man, I got to get Big Marley on the mic, but it feels so obvious. Like 6 or 7 losses for Chad, all the steam going one way. He actually does wrestle. Like it couldn't be more obvious. It feels like on paper, as we all know, or if you're watching the sport, you play the MMA DFS. It usually doesn't work the way you think, but it is nice when it does. We'll keep it rolling. Big Marley. Pretty interesting fight right here. One of the closest line fights on the card. Sergey City taking on Garrett Armfield. Minus 132 is City. Plus 112 is Garrett Armfield. Plus 125 for this fight to finish. Both of them, same inside the distance prop at plus 285. You see on the stone right here, 5.59 significant strikes for Armfield, 5.16 for City, 0 takedowns. So again, the stone, I love this thing. One-stop shop. I would take that. These guys are strikers, pretty high volume, don't wrestle. Both can crack somewhat because it's plus 285 to finish. Is that how you see the fight? What are you doing in DFS?
Yeah, see, this is one I don't know what I want to do with this one. I think this one could be an important one to target. The inside the distance line is better than I thought it would be. Both of them are live to get a knockout. They are primarily strikers. If one of them gets a knockout, I think it'll be a high enough pace fight that it'll be on the optimal lineup because you'll get all the points leading up to the knockout too. So I don't know. I feel like I just want to leave both sides in my pool, let the shiptomizer choose whoever it wants type of thing. And then like a single entry, I probably avoid it just because I don't really have a strong lean on it. I'm picking it to go to a decision. I think C-Day's just a little bit better everywhere. I think he's more likely to wrestle as well. He shot for, I believe, 4 takedowns in his last fight. So I think he could shoot in this one as well. And I was just more impressed with him in that last fight than I have been with Armfield. So I just slightly lean with C-Day as the pick. But I mean, he's $1,000 more. So it's just, if I need the $1,000, let me go right to Armfield. I'm fine with that. So I think that's my plan. I'll just go heavy on it in MME. And then if I make a single entry this week, I'll probably go with stuff I feel more confident or just better at getting a win in.
That makes total sense to me. Like I feel very similar to you because it feels like if this fight goes the distance, it probably isn't optimal. Again, because I'm expecting we need big scores, and it's plus 125 to do so, to finish, minus 155 to go the distance. But plus 125 to finish isn't crazy. And if this fight does finish, I'm with you. I think it's high paced on the feeds. You probably get a knockdown in there, maybe some follow shots after. Like that will score pretty good for this price. And you do have the thing with City right here. Moreno, 8,500. Blanchfield, 8,400. Both of these are 5-round fights. They will definitely be higher owned than City. So you get a pivot there. I will say my preferred play is Armfield because of that 1K. And I thought he should have a higher inside the distance prop than City. I feel like he's more powerful. Like one pop shot. City puts it on you more, and I guess he can take over, or his combos might be a little better. feels like the one-shot power for me. Armfield sits down a little more. So he's my pick to win at this price. It is really close. I will say Armfield has continued to take money throughout the week. Just 3 days ago was plus 138, now plus 112. Anything you want to add on this one? I'll probably be somewhere around the field in this fight. I don't want to take a huge stand either way, but Armfield, my preferred play. I'll probably be overweight him.
Yeah, no, I'll probably build some lineups, and then I'll just put my final thoughts in my notes over on Shipping Nation.
There you go. Where to find Big Marley's notes? You go to MMA right here, click on Fight Rankings, breaks down his blurb on all the fights, his approach for DFS. He ranks the fights, 5-star being great, the less stars being worse, and then each individual fighter gets some. He also has this method of victory and round for how each fight goes. So that'll be up tomorrow. Check that out. Again, ownership and our projections will be up. Core report, all our content will be up tomorrow. 5 Eastern lock time on Saturday in Canada. Canada gets some fights. Let's keep it rolling. We still plenty of fights to talk about. 10 left. We're going to the big boys. Rodrigo Nascimento taking on Alexander Romanov. Minus 117. Nascimento minus 103. As Romanov minus 170 for this fight to finish. Both guys plus 185. Inside the distance. Really clear and easy for me, meaning I know I want this fight, but I'm not going all in because we have a wrestler in Romanov versus a grappler in Nascimento. You can see Romanov, a lot of takedowns. Nascimento has a good amount of submissions. But if that negates each other, Nascimento's solid takedown defense, these guys is going to have a very sloppy striking match on the feet without too much volume and completely bust. So it can go one of two ways. If Romanov's on top, you absolutely love it. Nascimento's on top, Romanov's going to be absolutely gassed. You love it. If it stays on the feet, it is going to be awful. If I have to pick a side, it's Nascimento, just because ever since Romanov, when he cut down, loved it. When he ballooned back up, that was it for me, man. His gas tank, he looks gross out there. So not like Nascimento looks much better. I'll pick him if I have to take a side, but I'll play both sides for DFS.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about this fight. I almost feel like it is going to go the distance, and I almost feel like the wrestling will kind of cancel out, and we'll get a 15-minute striking match, and it's just going to be horrible. Minus 170 to end inside the distance. That is 63%. Maybe I'll like max my total ownership around that and just kind of.
That might be overweight. On this card, especially with the price, like it's such a such a good DFS card. But because 14 fights, which you almost never get nowadays, and those 5-round fights being in the mid-tier, Lewis being right there, so many closely lined fights where there's not like, oh, we need to get a spend up at 97. I think it probably is under 64% combined. I don't know. Pretty close, if not.
Although I would probably max it at that. I don't even know if I want that much, but if it's going to be a low-owned fight, that would make me like it more because they both do have high upsides if they're able to get takedowns.
Yeah, I don't know about low, but I think in check.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Yeah, I wish I would have done ownership before. It just gives me a
I'm
better
excited
idea.
to see. I'm excited to see what you got because it's one of the hardest weeks, I think, to predict ownership. But I also think sorry, we're going on a little tangent. I also think ownership means it always means something, but it almost means less than every other card we've had due to so many more options, and it's going to be spread out more. So just naturally, people are going to have less dupes because there's less obvious stuff. So it matters, but a lot less than most weeks. Keep going to this fight, sorry.
Yeah, on this one, I mean, I think they both have high ceilings. They can make the optimal lineup if their success comes on the ground. I mean, they're big boys. I guess they could get a knockout, but neither one of them are really knockout type of strikers. They're primarily grapplers. So I think that's what is not good for the Romanov side is he's usually able to dominate people on the ground, but it's people who can't grapple. Nascimento can, so I just don't see Romanov being able to dominate. And if Romanov does come out strong with a wrestle-heavy game plan, he's just going to start to slow down. So I feel better about Nascimento's gas tank, which is why I'm gonna pick him to win. But if he doesn't finish Romanov, I don't see him getting many takedowns either. So he might not even get 10x. He could get 60 points in a win here. So yeah, I could see me being like maybe 25% Nascimento, 20% Romanov, something along those lines.
Yeah, everything you said makes sense. Like, it very well could just stay on the feet and it'd be boring. If so, we just saw Roman's last feet completely busted. He outstruck, who was it, Ivanov or something? Before it was Blagoy, right? Yeah. So what's going on, Rio? What's going on, Ben? Talk about Rio. Locks in an hour for NBA. You guys watching, most probably on playback. Probably wondering what I'm talking about. But for you 8 watching live, appreciate each and every one of you. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, whether watching live, watching on playback. Very much appreciated. Let's keep it rolling. Big Marley, 9 fights left. This one should be pretty fun. Charles Jordane taking on Victor Henry, plus 195 for this fight to finish. Again, 3 fights in a row. This is nuts. The same inside the distance prop for both guys, plus 385. Right away, what stands out in this one, Big Marley, at the stone? Big boy value, 8.34 for Victor Henry, 5.48 for Charles Jordane. Looking at line movement in this one, pretty interesting. Henry opened the favorite, minus 125, plus 105. Jordane, about a week later, stayed there for a little bit. A week later, went to minus 110, and then throughout the week, it has gone down to minus 140. Another thing that stood out on here, tell me if I'm tweaking, but Jordane 5'9", 69-inch reach. Henry 5'7", 68 inches. I thought Jordane was going to be a decent size. What am I trying to say? Have a decent size tail to tape advantage. I thought he'd be a lot bigger than 2 inches and 1 inch. Am I just tweaking, or did you think that too?
No, I don't. I didn't really even I didn't think about it at all, to be honest with you.
Yeah. All right. What do you think? What do you think of this one? Volume for days, but it's supposed to go the distance. So, I mean, if it goes the distance, can this get there? Is there any wrestling upside on either side? Like, the stone doesn't make it look like it.
Yeah, this is another one where I just don't know. I doubt either one of them look to wrestle. I think that Jordane's probably a little bit more technical, a little bit more dangerous, but Henry's going to be the volume guy. So I always like to rely on volume just if I'm struggling on who to pick for the winner. So I kind of just leaned towards Henry for that reason. Plus, he was a slight underdog. So I was like, all right, I'll just take Henry here. But for DFS, if he's not looking for takedowns, he can get the volume to pay off an 8K. So I'd have to see like how many underdogs I really like more than him. I mean, he's definitely in play more so than Jordane, in my opinion, because if Jordane doesn't get a finish, I really don't see him looking to wrestle too much either. And I don't think he'll have enough upped volume from Henry's aggression to pay off his salary. So it's probably Henry or pass. But this could be another one where I'm just like a 2-star on it. Hope that it is a back and forth striking match and they put up around 10x and a win. Like you said, maybe we need 100. I don't know that these guys have 100 in them.
Yeah, in a finish.
In this fight.
Yeah. I mean, in a finish, then more than likely gets there. But what's plus 385? Like 20%? Something like that?
385? What is it?
Plus 385. What is it? Like 20%?
I'll find out right now.
I hate guessing. Last week I was so off.
20.6.
Yeah. So if you put like 20% on both guys, that's probably overweight. I will say this fight has to be pretty low owned in the mid-tier. Again, ownerships can be really spread out. I'm really, really excited to see Big Marley's ownership, what he has tomorrow. But it's going to be spread out. This fight just can't get ownership in the mid-tier. 20% both sides might be overweight. If they do get a finish with that volume, again, probably a knockdown in there or something, then that's how they get there. So I don't mind capping it right around that 20% mark.
Yeah, I'd be cool. I think I'd be more cool with 20% Henry. I don't know if I want to get to 20% Jordane, but yeah, you're right. Ownership could talk me into it, I guess. Because I think Jordane has the higher ceiling. Like Henry is going to be like 38 years old or something like that. He's going to start to slow down soon. He's not going to be able to put up 200 attempted strikes in each matchup, pushing 40. So maybe this is the moment that he starts to slow down a little bit, and Jordane tries to make a title run. He's coming off a few losses, so he's got to change something up in his game. I think his most impressive performance was that Shane Burgos fight where he was actually bringing the aggression and the volume. If he could go back to that, I would really like him, but that's just not usually him.
Yeah, Burgos needed to wrestle and backpack him. I mean, the Ramos fight when he darsed him, wasn't a darce or something, that was pretty cool too, but Ramos just a clown sometimes. Yeah, 37 is Henry. Yeah, if this fight again, I think ownership will be pretty low. Ownership doesn't mean as much on this card. Both plus 385 to finish, 20% either side. I think I'd be good with. but I don't want too much of it. You're absolutely right, Ben. It is one of the toughest DFS cards. If I had to like pick cards or lay money on what card would have a solo shipper, this would probably be probably the favorite for the year to have a solo shipper. Ownership's going to be great. Closely lined fights, 2 5-rounders. It all adds up to be great as long as everyone makes weight and these fights continue. Let's keep it rolling, Big Marley. Another decent-sized favorite on this card, Jasmine Jasudavicius, taking on Ariana De Silva, formerly known as Ariana Lipski, plus 190 for this fight to finish. Jasudavicius, plus 280. Ariana De Silva, plus 500. I like the Jasmine side. It's very easy to know why. 2.39 takedowns per 15. And a solid inside the distance prop at plus 280. She has a lot of upside. She's put up a 150 burger before. She has takedowns and good wrestling when she is on top. If she then got a finish, it's only gravy on top of that. However, if it goes to decision, I don't know how much you wanted at 9K. De Silva's side, she'll have a striking advantage. I'm not sure how many times out of 100 does she score 100 or more? Does she have any upside in this matchup?
Yeah, I think she's got some upside. I kind of like both sides of this fight. This could end up being like a 4-star for me. Always interested in Jasudavicius. She's just one of the better WMMA wrestlers, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And she can always mix in a lot of takedowns, especially in this matchup. If she's going to win, it's going to have to come through the ground. And it could be like 12, 13 minutes of top control, 5 to 10 takedowns, score 130 in a decision type of thing. So I'm definitely going to be on JJ. But I think that De Silva, Lipski, I think she's got upside. Just if the takedowns aren't there for JJ, then I think she gets picked apart on the feet. I think Lipski's live to finish her. If the takedowns aren't there, I think she could get a knockout at some point, just piling up the damage and then putting her away. And at $7,200, I mean, just if the takedowns aren't there, if it's a 3-round striking match, I think she's paying that off too, or at least getting close to it. So I'm interested in both sides of this fight. I wish I would have done all my stars already, but I would imagine it's the top 3 or 4 fight for me to target, to be honest.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, the Jasmine side is clear as day. If she gets her wrestling going, everyone knows the upside she has. And I like what you said. Like, if she does stuff takedowns, you think she does have late finish knockout ability. She's looked good the past couple fights. There's no doubt about that. So, yeah, I'm going to play both sides of this one as well. I like it. And this is one expected to go the distance, but you can make a case on both sides. We'll keep it rolling to the next fight on the card. Not a fight I have interest in really at all. Pedro Munoz taking on Ayman Zahabi, minus 138 Zahabi, plus 118 is Munoz. The most likely fight to go the distance on the card, minus 400. Zahabi plus 750 inside the distance. Munoz plus 375. So as you can see, like on the stone, again, I do this Tuesday or Wednesday. Now minus 138 was minus 120. Plus 300 now. It was plus 275 for this fight to finish. Money on the over, some money on Zahabi. He is 400 cheaper than Munoz. But again, on this card, I've said it multiple times, it's not a card that salary is really tight. I don't care if you get a 70-point win at 7,800 or something. I want big boy scores. I don't think we're getting a big boy score in this fight. Munoz a great calf kicker. Zahabi, a low volume, okay striker. 5.32 isn't bad for Munoz, but he's never been finished. Zahabi, I don't think is going to be the first one. Munoz, I don't know. I guess unless you got a hot take and think Pedro Munoz can finish Ayman Zahabi, this is an X for me.
Yeah, X for me as well. Munoz can bring the volume, but Zahabi has a 71% striking defense. And he kind of just sucks people into a slower paced fight, and it turns into who's going to win this one on the scorecards when they're both just point fighting slowly this whole time, or he knocks him out. But Munoz has never been finished, so I don't think Zahabi really has the finishing upside in this matchup. He has no real volume. He's not going to get more than 1 or 2 takedowns max, I'd say, in this fight. So Zahabi's going to be an X out for me. I think you could make a case for Munoz at 8,300. Just based on volume. He's got knockout upside as well, but I just don't think the volume is going to be there in this matchup. So I think, this is my second least favorite fight to target. Let's hope that it goes 3 rounds and the winner probably doesn't put up 10x.
Yeah, this was my least favorite fight on the card. I said this was the easiest fade. I will gladly move on to next week if it beats me. Zahabi usually in boring fights. Don't see wrestling upside on either. Munoz if I had to pick either side, but 8,300, a plus 118 dog, plus 375 to finish. Just really on the feet. I can definitely, that's a lot of red flags. I can point to better stuff for other fighters that I'd rather. So nothing in that one. And we talked about how loaded this mid-tier is. So many fights we already talked about that we liked. Yeah, like give me the Jordane Henry fight over this one. There's just no chance I'm going to get to that one at all. Let's keep it rolling. Next fight on the card. We have 6 left to talk about. This one should be pretty fun. Hometown guy, Mike Malott, second biggest favorite on the card at minus 310. Taking on Trevin Giles, plus 260. One of the more likely fights to finish on the card, minus 250. Malott himself is minus 140 to finish. Giles plus 385. I think Mike Malott will be the highest owned fighter outside of the 5-round fights. Even so, though, like I'm going to eat that chalk. And because there's so many other ways to get difference, it's not like it's going to be over 50%. Like it's going to be fair ownership. He's minus 140 to finish on a card that doesn't have great inside the distance props. So I'm in on him. I'm also in on Trevin Giles, though, for 2 reasons. A, you get leverage in a fight that's supposed to finish. He's dangerous himself. And we just saw Mike Malott gas last fight and get finished in the 3rd round by Neil Magny. Like, why can't Trevin Giles do that if Mike Malott can't get him out of there early and he slows down? So Giles might be 8% on this card. You get 15, it's not hard. Mike Malott will get, I don't know. I'm curious what you say. I don't want to throw out numbers and have you like biased because of that, but maybe Malott's like 38%. That's a good amount of leverage you get from Trevin Giles. And again, I'm still playing Malott at whatever the ownership, because just play one of the main events and fade the other. Leave a 900 on the table, which isn't hard at all, stuff like that. How do you see this fight?
Yeah, I agree. Like on most cards, it's like, all right, my favorite fighter is going to be 50% owned. Do I want to eat that chalk? But I think Malott's a solid pick for a favorite fighter in this one, and he won't hit 50%. He should be in the 30s. So yeah, I like that as well. I'm going to eat that chalk too. He is just the much better finisher. He's going to push the pace early and put Giles to test. And if someone folds early, it's going to be Giles. Mike Malott has the 120-point upside. But if Giles doesn't fold, then who knows what this fight's going to look like. I don't know that Malott is going to get there in 3 rounds. I think he could, like, especially if he learned from his last fight. He definitely could, but I don't know that he could have that same type of output if he's like preparing to go to a decision. So I don't know. I mean, if it goes the distance, I wouldn't really care for either side of it. I don't think Giles is going to do much either. Even if Malott slows down, I don't think Giles puts on enough late to score great in a decision. He could finish him late, and that would be great for his score. But I don't see him having a lot of early success. So more so Malott or pass, but I am fine like matching the field or so on Giles, just as a hedge, just in case all my Malott exposure just goes down the drain.
Makes a lot of sense to me. Well, what the heck? It said make or something? I didn't know what was going on there. Yeah, Mike Malott's my preferred play, but I'm going to have some Giles because he's really low owned. Leverage if he wins. I mean, he's got power. Like, there's no doubt about that. Like Malott, he is dangerous early, slow down. A 2nd round finish from Giles or something like that would get there. But Malott's still my preferred play, even at a good bit more ownership. Keep it rolling. 5 fights left. Marc-Andre Bario taking on Dustin Stoltzfus. Minus 210 is Bario. Plus 180 is Stoltzfus. We have minus 120 for this fight to finish. Bario plus 185. Stoltzfus plus 300. Right away, the first thing I would have noticed when I was going through this, I said Bario minus 210. Stoltzfus plus 180. You see right here on the stone, minus 180 plus 155. Since I typed this up, again, it's either Tuesday or Wednesday. This week, I believe, was Tuesday. It was Tuesday. Minus 180 to minus 210. That's in 2 days, 30 cents a line movement. Pretty noticeable. Also, I will update this every Friday before we put everything out. All of this is updated to the current odds. So then you guys can do it Saturday morning. If you want to see line movement, check what the stone was for Friday. That'll be updated. see what Fight Odds has it on Saturday. That's a way to judge ownership or to judge line movements, which I'm always looking at Saturday. I also drop it in the Discord. Most weeks, I will be gone this week, so do not be expecting it, though. What do you see in this fight? I like it, both sides, because I look at it as a clash of styles, Big Marley.
Yeah, I'm cool with both sides of this fight. Bario's the better striker. Stoltzfus is the better wrestler, grappler. But I think that Stoltzfus has a better chance on the feet than Bario does on the ground. So at $7,300, I'm going to side with Stoltzfus as my preferred play in this one. If Stoltzfus wins, I feel good about him paying off that price tag, and he has a 100-point upside as well. So I'm going to be targeting Stoltzfus for sure. I want some Bario because he could knock out Stoltzfus. He could maybe just stuff takedowns, put up volume, also finish them late. But even in a decision, I think Bario could flirt with, 10x. I don't know that he's got a 100-point upside in a decision, but I don't know that that's what would be the case. Like if he's stuffing takedowns, he might put Stoltzfus away at some point.
Like
and
the Julian Marquez fight.
Yeah, let's give him like the end of a third round type of knockout, like all that volume, and then he still gets the extra couple, like 15 points or whatever it would be for that finish. I think that would be solid for him. So yeah, I'm cool with both sides of this fight, but my preferred play is going to be Stoltzfus. I think he might be on some new supplements that's helping his game. And I think that the takedowns will be there eventually. Maybe he can get a submission or land like 4+ takedowns in this fight and even win a decision. I expect him to score more than 10x in a decision.
See on that Carlos Leal shit?
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
He talk about robbery. Dude got absolutely hosed, but
couldn't believe that.
He was definitely on. He was on something, that's for sure. I agree everything you said. Stoltz was my preferred side because he's wrestling and has 1,600 savings. But Bario, great play. 6 significant strikes per minute. If he stuffs takedowns, the better striker, always pushes a good pace, and he just breaks guys like that. Julian Marquez fight, I was there for it. Man, it was he just absolutely broke him. First round, competitive. He just eats big shots, keeps walking forward. Eventually, he takes more than his opponents does, and his cardio is better. So he does keep taking money, which, maybe this is the fight I have like 70% of, 35-35 or something, and I get overweight on both. Definitely one of my favorite on this card. Let's keep it going to another very interesting fight that is supposed to finish in the light heavyweight division. Kyle Machado making his light heavyweight debut, dropping down from heavyweight, taking on Bredson Robero, -146 Machado, +126 Robero, -200 for this fight to finish. Open -180, so some money coming in on the under. Robero +200 inside the distance, Machado +145. My question to you, we see 2.2 takedowns per 15 minutes for Robero, 6.07 for Machado. Do you think Robero tries to wrestle? Machado, I think, pretty obvious. He's a striker that continues. But what do you think on the Robero side? And then break down this one.
Yeah, I would think he probably should try and wrestle, attempt that one. I think that Robero's just a better all-around finisher. I think he's more dangerous everywhere, should have the wrestling edge in this one too. But if the takedowns aren't there, or if he isn't shooting for takedowns, I think Machado is going to be our higher volume striker, the one that'll just kind of keep up the same pace for over the course of 3 rounds, where I would expect Robero more slow to slow down. So it's another one where I'm fine with either side. My preferred play is going to be Robero, though. I'd rather take the finishing upside because I don't think he'll have enough volume to score great in a decision, especially if he's not landing any takedowns. So I almost think he's knockout or bust to have any 100-point upside. So I would rather save the money, go with the guy who's more likely to finish, in my opinion anyways, and more likely to wrestle. That's always what I'm looking for, is I'm going to get that guy who's looking to wrestle a little bit. And if he's going to look to wrestle in this matchup, I think that would help him win. So yeah, Robero or pass.
Yeah, I like Robero more too. I'm going to play some Machado because, he's +140 inside, +145.
Yeah, I didn't mean or pass. I'll use some Machado as well. But like single entry, I don't see Machado making that. I think it would be just like, let the Shiptomizer figure out my Machado type of lineups. But my handbills, I'm looking to click on Robero.
I like that. Yeah, I'm picking Robero too. The more dangerous fighter, it feels like. And the round 1 prop, I was surprised. Like +145, good for Machado. He is only +400 in round 1, whereas Robero plus 425, and he opened plus 500. This is a scary dude. Like, he cuts a good amount of weight to make this weight class. Again, Machado is dropping down. I mean, look at this. Really close in height. Robero, a bigger reach advantage. This is the proper weight class for Machado. Robero's been there, so it's not like Machado's going to be the much bigger fighter. Robero's a beast, scary, and some wrestling upside. So I'm with you. He's my pick and my preferred side as well. Oh, baby. Always love when I see the name Derek Lewis on a slate. Janata Dina is taking on Derek Lewis, minus 550 for this fight to finish. Lewis, Denise, minus 120 to finish. Lewis, plus 170. By far the most likely fight to finish on the card. Again, it is minus 550 now. This said minus 650, so some money on the over. Also, Denise, minus 156 now, was minus 170. So some money coming in on the over, some money coming in on Derek Lewis. Look at these records, man. 8-0 for Denise, 28-12 for Derek Lewis. Pretty obvious who has the experience advantage. Who wins this fight?
I'm going to go with Denise. I think, he's just the better striker, better kickboxer. If we're turning knockouts off, I think Lewis almost never wins that fight unless he looks to wrestle. I do think Lewis has some wrestling upside in this matchup, which is rare. And I don't know that I think it would be like one takedown and then he's either staying there or he's going to knock him out with some ground and pound or something like that. I don't see him having like 6 takedown upside or anything like that. But I think wrestling's in play for Lewis, and then the knockout's always in play for Lewis. So $7,600, I'm cool with some Lewis exposure. He can absolutely break the slate. He could get the knockout in the first 60 seconds, and it's a no Lewis, no cash night. But if he's not going to knock out Denise, I don't really think he can wrestle enough to win maybe 2 rounds, but it's just not going to come with enough work in a decision. So I think he's going to need a finish, whether that be through wrestling and ground and pound or just knock this guy out on the feet. And then Denise, he needs a finish too. He's not going to look to wrestle on this one. And if he's just going to look to kickbox the whole time, he's not going to put up a big score. So I think what I'm going to look to do, minus 650 to end inside the distance. That's too high in my opinion. I think that's all from the Lewis side. I think it's all the danger from him. But if these guys are a little bit tentative and they don't want to engage that much, I could see this being a 15-minute striking match, and the winner puts up 50, 55 points, something like that. So I think I'm going to just go underweight on the fight as a whole. Maybe my preferred play is Lewis, just because he's got a better chance of breaking the slate. But I think Denise gets the win.
Yeah, my pick is Denise too. He came from kickboxing. Like, he's the much better striker than Derek Lewis. Derek Lewis just has the one-shot power. I'm definitely going to play it. It's minus 550, but I'm not making a rule to be all in on this fight. So maybe I do end up underweight. This is one of the fights that, like, if I was 40% both sides, I'd be fine with it. Cross my fingers. Plus 200 in round 1 is Denise. Plus 350 in round 1 is Lewis. But I'd also be fine, I guess, if I had like 25% or 20% because of what Big Marley said. If this fight does go long, it's not going to get there. And Derek Lewis is fine, especially in fights he gets picked apart. He just sits back against the fence. He loads up, waiting for them to attack him. And the other people are scared to engage too much. They just like pick him apart from the outside. Denise does that. He knows he can win. But if he's not, like you said, if there's not a finish in this fight, I doubt it scores well. So minus 550 was minus 650. I'll be curious to see where that inside the distance line goes. But I'm playing a minus 550 fight to finish. There's obviously no doubt about that.
I honestly think that like minus 400 would be maybe even a little too high.
So you're going to be betting plus 375 that this fight goes the distance?
I don't know. Maybe.
There you go.
Possibility.
Maybe. All right. Over 1.5 rounds is plus money too. You can get that.
Yeah, you never know with Lewis. Like it's what, like, when does he decide to turn it on type of thing? Because he'll sit back for 12 minutes and then like, all right, here we go. I'm gonna throw this fucking 7-punch combination and try and knock him out. I was like, why didn't you just do that earlier? It probably would have worked then. So I never know with him.
No, you don't. Like the Curtis Blades fight, like the dude just is losing, lands an uppercut, anything. There you go.
Volkov fight, just lost like the entire fight, and then it's like, all right, I'm gonna knock this guy out right now, and then boom, it's over.
Yeah, he's a freak for sure. But I think Denise will get the win. Regardless, I'm gonna have a decent amount of both guys, but I'm definitely gonna have fight fades for the reasons we listed as well. 2 fights left. Both of them, these again, 5-rounders. Both of them right priced next to each other in the mid tier, relatively closely lined, and both those supposed to go the distance. So interesting 2 fights to cap it off. Obviously, will be pretty heavily owned. Ownership will be posted tomorrow. NBA 15 is the promo code if you want to check all of our content out. This fight, though, Aaron Blanchfield taking on Rose Namajunas, minus 130 Blanchfield, plus 110 is Rose, plus 195 for this fight to finish. Blanchfield plus 300, Rose plus 515. Blanchfield open plus 415 or plus 400 inside the distance. Now it's plus 300. Clear wrestling upside in this one. She averages 2.05 per 15, also throws a lot of volume. A pressure fighter, a very good wrestler, good grappler. It's clear Rose is going to want to keep it on the feet. Blanchfield on the mat. Unless you talk me out of it, I am thinking about betting Blanchfield at this price. I like her most definitely in terms of DFS more than Rose. I could see Rose winning a decision and not getting there because keeping the fight at bay. Blanchfield has all the upside when she does win with the wrestling, heavy pressure, her volume. Let me ask you this, though. So the Furo fight against Blanchfield, Furo landed like 160 significant strikes. Because when Blanchfield couldn't wrestle, she still just pressured, and forced Furo to throw volume. Is that the case where, like, if this goes 25 minutes and Rose wins, she's going to have to land 100 significant strikes? Like, Blanchfield's going to force her to? Because she just applies so much pressure? Or do you think that she can win a 75, 80 significant strike match that way? So, yeah, how do you see this fight going down? It's an interesting one.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that you can really. I mean, I just don't see her landing that many shots against Rose. I think Rose is just a little bit trickier to figure out on the feet, better movement overall. So I don't think that Blanchfield is even really live in a striking match. Like, if her takedowns aren't there, I would struggle to see her win in 3 rounds on the feet against Rose. It would have to be through volume because Rose is just way more dangerous on the feet. She's way crisper as well. So I like Rose as long as this fight is standing. And I didn't like seeing Blanchfield give up on takedowns as easy as she did in her last fight. I mean, I think I bet on Blanchfield in her last fight, and I was like pissed the whole time watching that. Because like you want her to be a Khabib, just keep going for the take. If it didn't work, we'll try again. Well, try again. Keep going, keep trying. Because it's like, well, this striking thing is just not going to work out for you in this matchup. And I kind of think this is similar, where Rose is just a better striker. And Rose is a nasty grappler too. She's got takedowns of her own. So I was thinking about betting Rose, to be honest with you. So I haven't yet.
I'm not betting Blanchfield then.
I haven't yet, but I just feel like this is a tough matchup for Blanchfield. Like, if maybe she could go out there and get early takedowns. Rose can be taken down, but she's not easy to hold down at all. And I think she's going to be hard to submit too. So a 3-round fight, I think, would help Blanchfield a little bit more, knock out 2 rounds with some early wrestling, but 5 rounds favors Rose, in my opinion. I like the striking edge to go to Rose, maybe the finishing edge on both sides. I think she could finish Blanchfield on the ground too. So my preferred play is going to be Rose in this one, but I'm all in at these prices. $8,400 for Blanchfield. If she wins, you would expect it to have a good amount of wrestling, at least, especially early. So she'll pay off that price tag in 5 rounds. And then Rose, I mean, $7,800. She's just going to be my favorite underdog on the entire card because of the price and because of it being 5 rounds. I could see a Rose win, though, where she is just kind of playing defense, stuffing takedowns, and then dancing around the cage and choosing her spots when she wants to strike and just not scoring enough for a high score. So I think it would be more likely Rose wins and doesn't make the optimal. But I would think that any Blanchfield win is probably on the optimal lineup. So since Rose is the underdog, I'm just going to probably be all in on this fight.
That makes sense. I'm not going to be all in on this fight. I'm going to make a rule to have at least one of this fight and this next one we're going to talk about. So at least one fighter there, which allows me to have lineups with not one of these fights, but also allows me to have lineups with both of them for 20 teams or less. And Blanchfield's definitely my preferred side because I have her winning. Think it's by wrestling, and I am worried if Rose wins, she might not be there. But for all the reasons you said, makes sense. And she's 7,800. Like, Blanchfield has pressure. Rose probably scores well in a win. But again, last week with Ilya, different scenario there. But 80 or 96, that was very fine fading that fight. Max and him were very high owned. Like, that fight was really, really close to busting at 96. I could see that on the Rose side. Obviously, a third, fourth round knockout can always do that, but a lower scoring striking decision if she stuffs takedowns. Let's get to the last fight on the card. Main event time. Big boy fight. Brandon Moreno taking on Amir Albazi. Minus 173 is Moreno. Plus 148 is Albazi. Plus 160 for this fight to finish. We have Moreno plus 235 inside the distance. Albazi plus 550. Moreno on a very rare two-fight skid. Albazi coming off one of the bigger robberies you'll see against Kai Kara France. Not sure where he won that fight. Who knows, but that's judges. We say it way too often. This fight opened Moreno minus 150, has since moved to minus 173, so some money on Moreno. First thing I noticed looking at these, yes, this fight is supposed to go the distance, but 1.71 takedowns for Albazi, 1.74 for Moreno. Two questions for you. A, how much do you think this fight hits the mat? Who do you think is doing the wrestling? And B, if you had to pick this fight or the Blanchfield fight, Rose, which fight do you prefer?
I think that we will see wrestling. I think both sides get a takedown in this one. Probably, like, if I were to put numbers right now, I'd say Moreno gets like 4 takedowns. Albazi gets 2, something like that. I think it's going to be a fun fight. Technical striking, both of them mixing in takedowns throughout the whole fight. I'm looking forward to this one from a fan perspective. I really don't even care. Like, I don't care who wins from a fan perspective, and I'm kind of leaning that way for DFS too. I don't really have a big preferred play in this one. I'm picking Moreno to win. And I would say that he is my preferred play since I'm picking him to win. But I like the Blanchfield fight more because I'm picking Rose to win. I'm picking the underdog to win. And then it's kind of the opposite where I just think that Blanchfield would make the optimal lineup, and I'm picking her against her. Whereas Albazi, I mean, he's not like a high-paced fighter, but he's just good everywhere. He can get a submission. He can get a knockout. He could mix in 6 takedowns throughout this fight. So with it being 5 rounds, I think he's probably still going to make the optimal lineup too. But he's the one who I think would be more likely to slow down the fight. So I don't like his side as much. But I'm probably going to be all in on both of these fights. That'll be my rule. And then I'll be under on the Derek Lewis fight. I'm fine being under on every other fight. These are the ones I want to target completely, and then I'll probably throw in a lot of Mike Malott as well, and then just whoever else fits the lineup. I'm cool. That's where I'll get different, is on the other spots. But I haven't built lineups yet, so I felt like the first one that I did, I was like, well, everyone's gonna have this freaking lineup, so let me go back to the drawing board.
I wouldn't worry about that though. Like, obviously some will. You don't want to just leave $0, play both main events, Michael Malott, etc. But it's very easy on this card. If you are if you think both main events get there, I have 0 problems doing that. Even the largest field contest, there's 14 fights, assuming they all stay. When you have ownership posted tomorrow, I'm expecting a lot, right in the 20s. All of them pretty close. People in the teens, all very close. Like, I don't think there's going to be big differences on these guys' leverage spots as much. Just leave some money, find combinations, I guess. I mean, play who you think wins at the end of the day. So many closely lined fights. Do you think you know MMA more than others? And Jasmine's not losing. Okay, fade to Silva. Jordane Henry, this fight's going to sting. Fade it. Like, you can do so many things on this card, like, without – it's not nearly as much game theory as most cards we have. On those cards, your I know ball stuff, because you don't have to worry about dupes as much. You can go crazy with your stuff. So, yeah, it's an awesome card. It's my final thoughts on it. All of our stuff, again, will be up tomorrow. If you want to join, NBA 15 gets you 15% off. Check out the weekly, monthly, 6-month packages. This right here, our best deal, though, includes Chiptimizer for all sports, projection, ownership. Will be loaded, $85. Can't beat the deal. Less than $3 a day. Final thoughts, Big Marley. Great work as always.
Final thoughts. Congrats to you, Title, for shipping it last week. What'd you get? 24 grand.
21K with my man Jaguar. I appreciate it.
Love to see it. Love to see it. Hopefully that's the start of an MMA heater for you. I hope you ship it this weekend. If you don't, hopefully it's me or somebody listening. So good luck to you. Good luck to everybody listening. Let's ship it.
Appreciate that, Big Marley. Always enjoy talking fights with you. Good luck to everybody out there. Appreciate everyone listening. Again, shout out to Jaguar. Appreciate the YouTube comment. Shout out to you for the 21,016 weight chop. Let's make some money this week. Enjoy it. Have a good night, Big Marley. Get back trick-or-treating with the kids. Good luck, everybody. For Big Marley, I'm Titletown. Peace. Be safe.